Growing a successful business has never been easy. But whether you're navigating a complex industry or trying to reinvent one, our breadth of banking experts are here to collaborate on market-proven solutions. At KeyBank, we're built to grow with your changing needs because we're not just here for the business you are now, we're here for the business you'll become. Reimagine business as usual. KeyBank opens doors. Learn more at key.com/B2B.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Is the U.S. really failing its young with personal finance education in middle school and high school? And why you should always be prepared. Enjoy. You are listening to The Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. I'm recording this on June 8th, 2026, a Monday. And you might be thinking to yourself, why am I listening to this on a Wednesday? I usually listen to this when you release them on a Tuesday, sometimes Thursday, about what's going on. But we're making a little bit of changes here to the Age of Jeremy flow. And that main thing is I'm adding a new segment that I am working to do something else with, which I'm not really ready to announce yet. But over the weekend, I released a episode called Markets Radar. And now on Tuesdays and Saturdays, I'm going to release a Markets Radar about things that are going on in markets. Essentially, we'll be looking at the crypto markets, stock markets, the bond markets, and I will be giving you my take on all of those markets, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. And what you should be looking at inside of those markets, what you could be doing in those markets. And hopefully there'll be some advice along the way. If not, you can at least listen to know what's going on inside of those marketplaces. Because as I always try to encourage everybody is to read, understand, and know what's going on in the news and around the world. And I know that's kind of different than some of the people that I'm around on a regular basis because they kind of promote that the news is lying and so forth, so forth. And I agree that the television news is kind of exasperated. But if you look at some really good journalism is still real. It's still out there. And there is some really great reporting going on. And again, the ones that I look at the most are Bloomberg's, Wall Street Journal's, The Economist, Market Watch, Barron's, the Arizona Republic is where I get my daily Arizona news. And so I just encourage you to go out there and read, and learn as much as you possibly can, because that's really what has turned my life around since I did that in college because we were forced to do it. And then I just picked up a lot of those same habits and continued them. And it's always kept me up to date on what is going on. And I want to provide that to you as I'm building something new in the Quintanilla sphere of businesses and knowledge and education. So I just want to see how this does. So again, make sure that you listen on Tuesdays and Saturdays for Markets Radar, where I will break down what is going on in certain markets and give my take on it. On Wednesdays, which is why you're listening to this now, because if you were subscribed to the podcast prior to this, you should have seen that Markets Radar came out yesterday. And if everything goes as is, you should have heard Markets Radar yesterday, and you should be hearing this today on Wednesday. I know that gets a little weird, but again, these are pre-recorded. As I said earlier, I'm recording this on June 8th. If you want to follow me and know everything that's going on in the Age of Jeremy sphere, follow me on Instagram at Age of Jeremy, and make sure that you sign up for my Dope Insights and Updates broadcast channel. It's inside of Instagram, but you can also find me on X. You can find me on Threads. You can find me at LinkedIn. You can find me essentially on every social media platform, TikTok, Snapchat, so forth and so forth. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode. First thing that I want to talk about is financial education. I am a huge proponent for the public schooling system, and I am a huge proponent for individuals going and getting college degrees. Do I think that that is the only path to success? Absolutely not. There are many other pathways to success, but what I know from my experience is that I have multiple degrees. And again, I am worth at least a little in the mid seven figure. Well, I shouldn't say mid seven figures. I am worth in the mid low seven figures. And I don't want to really go into the price here because we have workers in the house, but the exact valuation, but I will in the future. So make sure that you like and subscribe so you know what that is. But the point is I'd been able to become wealthy because of the mere fact that I spent a lot of time in getting an education and getting a degree in which allowed me to put myself in the right position so that I could take advantage of opportunities, learn about how finances and markets work. And I'm very grateful and I'm very blessed for it. And so the point that I'm trying to get at here is that education is one of the most important things that you can do in your life, whether that's a formal education through a university or through a trade school or through, a certification program. You should always be increasing your education. And over time, because of that education, you will increase your net worth. But Americans are facing a lot of financial troubles right now. And we're going to later on talk about some questions in a game that you can play. And there's a link to that article on the Wall Street Journal of a game that you can play so you can see what your score is. Before we jump into that, let's start with the current state of our wallets. According to a 2026 report from Ramsey Solutions, about 34% of U.S. adults describe their financial situation as either struggling or downright in crisis. To put that into perspective, that is roughly 88 million people, and it's a massive jump from just 22% back in 2021. The daily reality for many is really tough. 50% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and 53% say that they worry about money every single day. Wallet Hub data shows that 75% of 30 to 44-year-olds and low-income adults feel financially insecure. But the surprising twist is that the highest levels of financial stress are actually reported by high-income earners, such as myself, and men. And essentially, they're more likely to feel insecure than women, usually because, as I believe too, it's a man's responsibility to take care of the household and to take care of their family and to take care of the wife. So it would reason that they would feel the most financially stressed out about it. There's also a massive divide based on education, which is what I mainly want to talk about today. The Federal Reserve's 2024 report found that 87% of adults with at least a bachelor's degree feel they are doing okay. So let that sink in. So there was a report by the Federal Reserve where people with bachelor's degrees were probably interviewed against people that didn't have bachelor's degrees. And they found out that the people that had the bachelor's degrees felt that they were doing okay or that they were living comfortably. And that is because the greatest improvement in wealth comes from a university education. That does not mean that universities need to do a better job in making that more affordable to people, that we need to do a better job if that's how we're going to market it for children to go to college and get a bachelor's degree. We need to make it very clear that they need to go get a degree that's going to, kind of increase money. There are some things that people need to know. I'm for kids and parents taking out loans for them to go get a college education. The caveat and the trick is that when you get the loan, let's say you take out $70,000 to go to college or $100,000, then the job that degree gets you out of college needs to be at that dollar point. So for example, I have a degree in finance and a degree in accounting. Now I make well over $100,000 a year, but the point is that let's say I was just getting out of college, it was kind of stupid for me that I took out, $80,000 in student loan debt to go and work as a teller at Wells Fargo when I started out, because a teller at Wells Fargo at the time made $11 an hour and I had about $80,000 in student loan debt just sitting there. That was the mismatch. What would have been better is to go to an internship at investment firm, try to get into a hedge fund in in the lower stages or a junior level entry position that would have paid me $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year. And then I would have been able to afford the $84,000 loan payment back when I did this in 2010 or 11 or 12, right? And so the point is that, again, the key here is that education is still the biggest determining factor on whether or not someone is going to be wealthy or not on average. That doesn't mean that an entrepreneur can't go out there and become a billionaire because they have an idea and they strive and a inclination or a want to create something that the world values at millions and millions of dollars, and that person is successful. I'm talking about an averages here. Now, that Federal Reserve study, the report in 2024, found that 87% of adults with at least a bachelor's degree feel they are doing okay or living comfortably. For those with less than a high school diploma, that number drops to just 47%. But again, it's not really all doom and gloom, because there are a lot of things that are taking place inside of households, inside of the education system, to kind of improve these numbers and really help Americans become more financially stable, which is something that we continue to work on at our financial education company, 3T Warrior Academy. And I'm really excited because in a couple of weeks, we're going to be going to Vegas for a study session, kind of a weird place to go to Vegas, but I don't gamble. So I'll just be studying all the time. I know CJV likes to play roulette. There'll probably be some fun and some pool time there. But the point is that either way, we're going there. We're going to lock ourselves up for 3 days in a nice little cozy conference room in a hotel there by MGM Grand, because I own MGM Grand stock. So make sure that you use MGM, MGM bets, MGM, whatever the betting thing is by MGM, use that one because I own their stock. That's all that I want to say about that. Okay. So again, we're going to be going there and we're going to be talking about how can we help increase the financial education and the financial literacy from how we've understood it and the process that we use to make our money. How can we educate others about that? And again, so there are a lot of people such as us and the government and other people that really want to improve the financial situation of Americans. So one of the biggest habits that's on a comeback for this is budgeting. Budgeting is officially making a comeback. The adoption of budgeting has grown from 47% in 2021 to 53% in 2026, driven largely by Gen Z and middle income households. In fact, in our program that we have, I have a course in there that talks about budgeting, why that's so important. And that is the number one thing that people need to do to move their households forward or to move their finances forward into generational wealth. Because if you don't know where you're spending, you can't know where to cut. And if you don't know where to cut, you can't find more ways to invest and save. And in our program, you can't find more ways to put it into our capital D, our system. So we talk heavily about that. People are also shifting how they spend. Debit card use is up 41%, while reliance on credit cards has actually seen a slight decline. I have never been an advocate for credit cards unless it's for a business credit card and you can pay that off on a regular basis. The main thing that I use is my American Express card because I get really good points on it. I think I just redeemed, $700 or $800, but I spent a lot of money on it. $700 or $800 on it this last month. So again, one of the biggest things that's increasing here is, again, that the debit card is being used at the national level. And this is one of the other things that I wanted to talk about. Main piece is that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is stepping up. They're heavily focused on youth financial education, teaching, budgeting, saving, and credit management, as well as digital literacy to help young people navigate those complex products and avoid specific scams. The goal is to provide free evidence-based tools to help everyday consumers build resilience against economic shocks. And so the reason why I want to bring that up is because I did a post on Instagram the other day about someone saying how the school system's rigged towards factory workers. So our education system is based off of a Prussian education system. There is a likelihood that because we were really focused in Industrial Revolution, that during the Industrial Revolution age, a lot of those things were really pushed in there to help create workers and to help create students the ability to go out and to be in the workforce. But you have to think of workers. One of the things that we kind of construe or get confused is if I have a business, let's say I have a business, I have multiple businesses. So I have a business, I have team members that are coming into my business, and they come in and they might not know, they might have some of the skills that I need, but they may not have all of the skills that I need. So what do? I go and I educate them in the skills that I need so that I can put them to work in those areas. If you think about that from a country perspective, the government's job is to make sure that the children of the country are being educated in a way that they can then go and become productive members of society, traditionally in a labor market, right? That's why we call a fucking labor market. It's a market that exists. It's not, let's go make an entrepreneur market where every person going out there is an entrepreneur. Now, I encourage everybody to be an entrepreneur. We live in capitalism. We live in a free market economy. So yes, they can go out there and they can become an entrepreneur. But the point is that not everybody of them are going to be an entrepreneur, and not all of them are going to want to be an entrepreneur, right? But we need people that are producing money in a society and being productive in a society that it can increase our country's GDP. That's why the United States has become one of the largest, greatest countries in history, because of the fact that we have really, really great workers and really, really great universities and a really, really great process for creation and innovation in the United States. Has it gone down a little bit in the past couple of years? Of course, but again, is what it is. The point is that we're still working to make those things specifically happen. What I end up hearing on social media a lot is that our education system isn't teaching the kids what they need to know. It's just making them workers. But that's what the fucking education system is supposed to do. We need to have workers for the governments, for the entrepreneurs, for everybody. But the thing that everybody is missing is that the school systems, especially in some of the best school systems in the United States, like in Massachusetts, like in New Hampshire, in Connecticut, they are teaching those things to the children to help them be successful. Even in our shitty ass state of Arizona. I mean, Arizona is the greatest state in the union. And hopefully one day when we can raise our property taxes, we can get much better schooling and much better teachers here in Arizona. But the point is, even in Arizona, we have an initiative in our educations to teach personal finance along with economics. The problem is that we are saying that none of this stuff is happening in education and we're not trying to be a part of it, but those things are happening inside of public education. And me personally, I am trying to be a part of it because we need a lot of those things implemented. Because again, what's happening, what's the role of the government's responsibility as it relates to education is to educate people to be workers and be successful members of society, right? They need to have personal finance to be a successful member of society. And the government's starting to realize that. So they have been putting a lot of those things in place to make those things happen. And the states realize that. So they've been putting a lot of policy in place to make those specific things happen. And that's what the disconnect is about the shit that's just spewed out on social media that everybody hears and what's actually happening in the states and in the government to make those things happen. So one of the pieces that I found in the Wall Street Journal, which there's a link to it in the description, and I'll link it over into my Dope Insights and Updates channel. Recently, there was a National Personal Finance Challenge where over 60,000 Wall Street Journal readers tested their knowledge against high school finance whizzes. Okay. And now these were in high schools that obviously teach personal finance, that teach finance. Okay. Because they put them up against these high school finance whizzes. And so the biggest congratulations to the winners, Visheva, Daksha, Pranav, and Jiwoo. Again, probably foreigners because they work harder at home than traditional Americans, from Mount Hebron High School in Ellicott City, Maryland. Okay, after losing the finals by just 1 point last year, they came back to win the national championship this year in a financial championship. Okay, now there are 5 questions from this first round that I'm going to ask everybody here, and then I want you to go to the article to see if you can get them right. Okay, so here's the first question. So assume, and these are the types of questions that they could answer, that these are things that are being taught in high school to high school students that exist inside of high school. Okay. Not the weird shit that you think is happening in high schools. And to before I go into it, that's another problem. I have multiple family members that are educators in the state of Arizona and in other states. The biggest problem where people judge the high school system and the education system are from parents that don't know what the fuck is going on inside of the schooling system that their children are learning from or about, or what their children are learning. The more that you're involved with it and the more that you engage in it, the more you will understand what is actually happening. So I encourage you parents to go and be a part of what's it called? The PTAs, I think is what it is. Like where the not parents teachers association, but like the parenting division or the parenting group that's inside of the high school or the school system so that you know what's going on. Okay. Point is, be involved with what's going on in your children's lives while they're in school and in the schooling system. And if you don't have children, I encourage you to still see what's going on inside of the district that you're in. Most districts have their board meetings online so you can see and read what's happening. Again, as I always say, if you want better results, you have to put in the work. And that's why I tell people to continue to work more as my main motto. So everybody work more. Now, assume that a $5,000 balance on a credit card accrues interest at 18% APR, compounded annually. If absolutely no payments are made, what is the balance after 1 year? Okay, question. Assume that a $5,000 balance on a credit card accrues interest at 18% APR compounded annually. If absolutely no payments are made, what is the balance after 1 year? Okay. Is it $5,900, $5,978, $5,986, or $6,800? The answer is it's $5,900. You would take the $5,000, you would times it by 0.18, you would add that to it, and then that should be the answer after 1 year. Because again, it's compounded annually, so you do it for the entire year. Okay, question 2. An investor contributes a fixed dollar amount into an index fund every single month, regardless of what the market is doing. What investment strategy is this? High school students know this. The people that we're trying to take out of high school are learning these things. An investor contributes a fixed dollar amount into an index fund every single month, regardless of what the market is doing. What investment strategy is this? If you follow the 3T Warrior Academy, you should fucking know what the answer is. It's dollar cost averaging. The number one strategy that we promote, the number one strategy that I talk to people about, the number one strategy that I preach about on a regular basis, yell about, get my blood pressure high about, everything. Question 3, let's try some math. Company has a capital structure of $80 million in debt and $20 million in equity. This year, they reported a net income of $17 million. What is this company's return on equity? A company has a capital structure of $80 million in debt and $20 million in equity. This year, they reported a net income of $17 million. What is this company's return on equity, or ROE? Is it 85%, 24%, 17%, or none of the above? The answer is 85%. Okay. $17 million divided by 20 million in equity is 85%. Your kids could be being taught this in high school, but you may not know because you're probably not a part of what is going on in your community, which is the number one thing that I'm an advocate for. We spend all of our time on what's going on at the Fed level. Pay attention to what's going on at the state and city level. Question 4, what is the name given to the interest rate that banks charge their absolute best customers? What is the name given to the interest rate that banks charge their absolute best customers? The answer is the prime rate. Okay, this is the last question. A borrower with a variable rate loan is most exposed of what kind of risk? So a borrower with a variable rate loan is most exposed to what kind of risk? Is it currency risk, interest rate risk, inflation risk, or commodity risk? Currency risk, interest risk, inflation risk, or commodity risk? It's interest rate risk. So if it's a variable rate loan, the interest could change or will change, so that interest rate varies, so it's interest rate risk. Because when interest rates go up, you'll be paying more once your variable loan kicks in the higher interest rate. These are things that high schoolers know. Okay. Now, I'm sure that these high schoolers could possibly be more involved and really like finance, and that's why they know these things. But these are things that everybody should specifically know. Okay. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and be hypocritical and say that they're not taught a system like our capital DR system in high school that's going to teach them how to grow wealth, how to invest in wealth, how to get a dividend portfolio, how to create a dividend portfolio, how to utilize the dividends to invest in other assets. But they are being taught about this stuff. They are being taught about the investments. The problem isn't that the schooling system isn't educating them usually. The problem is that the parents aren't involved with it, and they're not backing up the education that is being taught because the parents probably don't know it. And hopefully that's what we end up doing with Read to Warrior Academy, where we're making it where no matter what your age is, whether you're a child or you're an adult, we're helping you understand the current financial system, and we're helping you understand how you can create generational wealth. But I just want to reiterate that we need to be more involved with the public schooling system. It isn't enough, in my opinion, as a member of this society, to send my child to a private boarding school, or to send my child to a private school. I think the private schools here in Arizona are also garbage. I don't believe in homeschooling personally, because in my opinion, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody that I'm close to, but in my opinion, then their knowledge is only going to be based on the knowledge and your ability to teach it to the child. And we need our children to have better knowledge and better education and be better prepared for the future than we were. And I believe that the best place for that is in private boarding schools personally, or some type of preparatory school or private prep school, right, for college, for them to then to go to college. But again, those are my opinions. Again, don't want to, offend anybody that I'm close to. People that I'm not close to, I really don't. I hope you're not offended, but if you did get offended, that's on you. And so again, that's really what I'm trying to say here, is that we shouldn't be discounting the public schooling system. We should be helping the public schooling system. And the wealthier you are and the richer you are, you should be doing it. And you should be ashamed for yourself if you're not involved with making your community a better place.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, bringing you an expanding library of education with even more ways to sharpen your trading skills. Access new online courses, insightful webcasts, articles, engaging videos, and more, all curated just for traders. Plus, guided learning paths with content designed to fit your unique interests. No sifting to find exactly what you need, so you can spend your time learning to trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
This episode is brought to you by Beneful. Mornings are when the grind starts. Stretches, immaculate. Cardio, crushed it. Territory, marked. Sorry, geraniums. The dog routine is on point, but it can get a little wolf. That's why I fuel up with high-protein Beneful freshly prepared meals. I'm eating clean with real meat and veggies, served fresh from the pantry. Kick boring in the bowl with Beneful freshly prepared meals. Visit Purina.com/Beneful to shop now.
I think people should be ashamed. I think that they should be ashamed for doing shitty things. I think that they should be ashamed if they live in a city that's not thriving. And I think we need to bring back men and women having more etiquette to themselves. or etiquette in general. I don't know, to themselves, for other people, for everybody. That's the purpose of etiquette. And I think one of the things that frustrates me is that we are blaming the country not having Jesus in its life and having God and all these ridiculous things for the country being so shitty. It's being so shitty because we're fucking being shitty to each other. If we stop being shitty to each other and start caring about each other and caring about social norms and having etiquette, and we would do a lot better. And I hate to sound like a conservative in that regard, because I think conservatism is ridiculous, but there are some things that we should be conservative about. And one of those things should be how we treat each other, how we should be ashamed on how we treat each other if we treat them poorly, and that we should work to make our communities and societies better and be a part of community. And one of the things that I was ashamed about recently, I did a panel at Phoenix Fan Fusion. And during the panel, I just used an old PowerPoint. I fixed it up a little bit. I had assumed no one was going to show up to this panel because the last time that I did it, no one showed up. But it might have been the demographic, might have not have been as many people. It might have been at the wrong time. But we filled almost the entire place up for people to come and see myself, Joey, Thermo, and Jinx talk about podcasting. And when I was done with it, I felt bad because I gave like 60%, 50% of my energy into the creation of what I was presenting there. And if I had given 100% of it, I would have made sure that I had my cards. I would have made sure that I had the little Age of Radio QR codes to give to people, right? I would have prepped Joey on it better. I didn't even know Jinx was coming to it. I thought Thermo was leading question. I didn't even know enough about it. I didn't even have my ticket for Phoenix Fan Fusion. I feel like piece of shit for the fact that I did not prep as I would have normally have prepped for these types of things, because I prep really, really hard for when I do my Mercury interviews. I prep really hard for when I do hosting. For example, I have X Royalty this week. I'm hosting it, the MC. I spent an hour today writing over my opening remarks, what I was going to talk about, what numbers I wanted to mention, how I wanted to position going into Coach JV's talking first. And that's the type of due diligence that we need. And we should feel ashamed when we don't do those things, especially because there were people that came, they wanted my card, they wanted to get in touch with me, and I didn't have any of that stuff available to me because I fucking assumed, for some reason, off of precedence. That's why precedence does not always indicate future. I felt that no one was going to be coming to it. So I didn't prepare the way that I should have prepared for it, and I feel just horrible about it. Now, I don't think that the people that were in the audience knew that, and that's great, because I gave everything that I could to make sure that every question got answered, that I went deep as I possibly could when I saw that more and more people were coming in and people were engaged with it. And so the lesson that I've learned this week is that no matter what you are doing, no matter if you think it's going to be for one person, no matter if you have one client, you should always go in that doing 100 to 120%. I guess 100%, because you can't really do 120%, but 100% of the best job that you can on it. And I had such a blast doing it. I was able to talk about all the equipment that went into it. We talked about podcasting, or audio podcasting vis-a-vis video podcasting, what makes a audio podcast. I was able to talk to them about monetization, how they can brand themselves, how to get their branding out there. And what I realized is there's so many people that want to be a part of this, that they don't know exactly where to start, because all of that information isn't in one spot, which then brings me to the importance of what I'm learning about, like blogs and articles to help people get started, which is one of the next things that I really want to focus on with Age of Radio specifically, is having these webinars. Like, we have a webinar now every 2 weeks. There's a webinar where I jump on and I go over everything Age of Radio has to offer. But now I want to have webinars every other month or every quarter where we talk to people about how to get into podcasting, what that means, the equipment that we use. Like, I realized over all of these years, looking at all of my equipment and looking at all the stuff that I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on over all these years, I know a lot about editing and audio. Now, am I good at editing and audio? And do I like rush it sometimes so I can get the content out there? Absolutely. But when I sit down and think about the way in which Dustin and I figured out how to do the cellular bonder, how we found Miri, how we had the Mag 1 that we found, how we learned how to use, Black Magic Designs, is it Atom Mini Pro? I don't know the names of things sometimes. But I know how to give everybody the advice that they need to then create, to get them into the place where they can create what it is that they want to create. And that was another eye-opening thing to me. So the thing that I encourage everybody to do is, one, if you're not giving 100% of yourself, you got to start giving 100% of yourself to everything, even if you don't think that it's going to be worthwhile. And this is the one time that I didn't do it. And it ended up, I had a great time. I think the people had a great time, but it ended up where I felt bad because I could have even done better. I could have even given them better advice. I could have even went deeper with them. And then the second thing is, we take note of like what you really know. I was a board member of Junior Achievement, and Catherine, who's the CEO there, a great woman. Hopefully she finishes out her career at Junior Achievement. She's done a lot of great things for that organization. And this is specifically Junior Achievement of Arizona. And I remember this one time when she had talked to me and the rest of the board. She had mentioned that one of the things that we should do, right, the board should do, is make a list of all of the things that we know that we believe that we can make money in, right? Or what our skill sets in are, right? So like for Junior Achievement, they were really good at holding meetings. They had all the equipment to hold meetings. Now they have a place. This isn't a revenue driver for them, but it gets more people into the door. They have a spot that's right next to BizTown A inside of the Junior Achievement Arizona facility in Tempe. That's a meeting room that anybody can rent out to use as a meeting room to hold meetings. And then it gets people in the door and gets them to be able to talk to Junior Achievement with them about Junior Achievement, right? And so as for a business though, make a list of what you've really learned through all these years of doing it and struggling, right? Like for me from just because I'm talking about Age of Radio on this, like I know the different types of polar patterns for microphones. I know the different types of boards that you can get. I know how to find products that use 32-bit float. I know about field recorders. I know about syncing the audio with the video if you want to go that route. I know the video equipment. We know the software, Riverside, StreamYard, Steinberg's Cubase, Studio One, Pro Tools, right? There's all this stuff that's out there that you can then go and share that with people. And you can find different avenues in which to share that. So for example, for us, when I'm thinking about all that, I made a list of all those things that I've learned from the Age of Radio perspective. How can I then get that information out to the people that would matter the most? Should that be something that people pay for? Should it be something that's free that gets them into our ecosystem? And that's the other thing that I was able to learn from this, because as I started talking about it, I was talking about, okay, we can help people understand how to market their podcast, how to build their own specific brand, what equipment to use, how to do lives, how to set up the podcast, how to, cross promote the stuff that you're doing on one platform onto the other platform, how to go and find guests to be on your podcast. And when I think of all of that information, I can think of so many pieces of content to get people into our ecosystem to then eventually be a part of the podcast network, maybe to be an advertiser on the podcast network. And I encourage you to do the same. For whatever your business is, sit down and what is all the stuff that you've learned, and can that stuff be used to be another avenue for revenue? Could it be another avenue for content? Could it be another avenue to maybe share with a business partner that they could use and you build a connection? There's so many opportunities out there, but you don't really know what your skills are till you've actually sat down and started looking and understanding what it is, the skill set that you fully have after all these years. we get caught up in the continuous movement of what we're doing that we don't take time to build strategy. We don't take time to reflect on a deeper level. We might reflect on like what we did that day and what else we need to do, but strategy can sometimes take a much longer time. It can also take a much deeper conversation. It could maybe take some meditation or some digesting, maybe reviewing older stuff, maybe organizing things. We think that because those things don't make us money right now, that they shouldn't be a main part of what we're doing on a regular basis to make us money into the future. And that's where I think we're kind of wrong in that regard. So again, think about what you're doing. Are you really giving 100% to it? And then think about what skills you've really amassed over these years in your field, and how can you offer those skills and information about those skills in other mediums to multiple people. The other thing that's really been difficult over these last couple of weeks is just realizing that there is a place in the etiquette piece that I've been talking about. There is a place for my professionalism. And that's one of the things that I think you still want to be who you are, but who you are is relevant to how people expect you to show up for whatever it is that you're doing. Right. And I think that that's another piece of the etiquette and the respect thing that I'm starting to see is, how do I present myself from my public image to the public? How is that presented to you guys listening on this? How is that presented to my team members? And am I being consistent with that? Because sometimes I don't think that I am. And some of that is because, it gets really exhausting sometimes going through all the meetings, working all the times, really focusing on all the things that we're doing, that we still need to be polite and loving and compassionate to everybody that we meet. And I know, as I've talked a lot about this and I continue to work on it, is I get worked up and angry on certain things, especially when I've mentioned something in the past and people don't remember it, or I've recommended something and I felt that it was the right thing and I pushed for it and they didn't do it and it could have ended in a better result. And those are things that I need to do a better job at by not getting angry at those specific things and kind of having control over those emotions and control over those thoughts so that I can be a strong leader for everybody that I come in contact with. And those are some of the main things that I'm focused on that I'll continue to share with you. But again, I encourage you to think about when you do a bad job and not necessarily get stuck in it that you did a bad job, but realize that you did a bad job. Realize that maybe you weren't the best and nicest to the people that are around you, or that you didn't follow through, and do the right thing and apologize to them, or write them a note, or write them a letter. There are a lot of things that we could be doing, spending time on each other to build stronger relationships with the people that are around us. And that's one of the biggest things that I plan to do moving forward. So again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. And I encourage you to listen to my Markets Radar segments that'll be coming out. The next one will be out on Saturday. And I also have this Thursday, a Age of Jeremy Conversations dropping as well. So if you can't get enough of me, there's a lot of me coming out this week. So make sure that you tune in so that you know what's going on and you can find little pieces of gold or little nuggets here and there. I don't know. I've never liked that saying, but you can find some wisdom, hopefully, because the goal of this is for me to share with you what I've learned through all these years. And that's what I hope to do. And with that, as I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye.
Tell me, how does it feel? I see the meaning of life in your eyes. It's like swimming in the ocean at night. And when I'm with you, it's like I'm on fire. Nothing is real outside myself and your smile lines. Bring me down with sweet soft sound. My name, the way it sparkles when it leaves your mouth. Fill my soul with you.
Have no fear, Chosen Foods is here to defend your favorite foods from the forces of seedy oils and sketchy ingredients. With cooking oils, salad dressings, and mayo, all powered by the good fats from 100% pure avocado oil and simple, delicious ingredients. Chosen Foods.